Hi, everyone. We're live. Welcome. Thank you for joining us this evening. My name is Erin Shrimp. I am one of the hosts of our shows at the Jefferson City News Tribune, which, if you haven't heard, is back in local ownership, which is really exciting. We are trying to get out in the community more and do more events like this and engage with our residents. And what better way to do that than to have conversations about one of the most important issues in the community, which is about our public schools. So we are fortunate enough to have candidates from both the Jefferson City School District and the Blair Oaks School District here tonight. We're going to start with Blair Oaks and have a candidate forum. Thank you all so much for being here and accepting our invitation. We're excited to get started. I also want to thank our host, Lincoln University, and President Mosley for allowing us to use the space tonight. And I also want to introduce some editors for the Jefferson City News Tribune that are going to be spearheading the Q&A tonight. Mia Sansone is our community engagement editor, and Jack Wardinsky. I'm not going to screw up anybody else's name tonight except for my own editor. Jack is coming from the California Democrat over to the Tribune, and he is our education editor. And I know he knows many of our candidates and our school board members very well. So they are going to be leading the Q&A. I'm going to hand it over to Mia before we do candidate introductions so that we can just go over a few logistical things for tonight and how the forum's going to go.
Thank you, Erin. So for tonight's forum, the format's pretty simple. So we will start with a quick introduction. Each candidate will have 1 minute to introduce themselves. And then when we get into the questions, for each questions, candidate will have 90 seconds to respond, and we will alternate who starts first for each question, just to keep things fair. I will be timekeeping, so when your time has come to its max, I will hold my hand up like this, so just be paying attention so we can stay on track. And we will begin with our Blair Oaks candidates, and then we will move on to our Jefferson City candidates after a short break.
Great. So we have two candidates tonight from the Blair Oaks School District, Sarah Lukanoff and Mark McCarter. Mr. McCarter, I want to start with you. If you could give us a 1 minute introduction, just tell us a little bit about yourself and why you are running for school board. We'll start with you.
Thank you all, and thanks to News Tribune for putting this together. I ran for the Blair Oaks School Board 3 years ago, and the big deal was I just wanted to contribute. All of my kids graduated from Blair Oaks. They have all been clear of the system since 2019, and Blair Oaks has been a guiding light for their post-high school activities. So the only way I knew how to give back was to serve on the board. I'm a retired U.S. Army officer from the Missouri National Guard and U.S. Army. I've got a lot of board experience in national, federal, international, and state and regional offices, but Blair Oaks has been the crown jewel for me in terms of what I want to get done and how I can give back the most. So thanks again for being here. Look forward to your questions, some of them.
Thank you, Mr. McCarter. I'm going to figure out where we're having an issue. Is it this mic? Don't know. Okay. Sarah, would you like to go ahead and start your intro?
Sure. Thanks for having us. My name is Sarah Lukanoff. I'm running for re-election. This will be my second time running for the Blair Oaks School Board, and initially I ran because I wanted to serve in some capacity. I felt where I had an impact, and I felt like the school board was a good place for that. I was concerned with some things at that time. And the reason I'm running again is I'm not so concerned about what's going on in our school district anymore. I think we're on a really great path. But I'm concerned with some of the legislation and things like that that are going to affect our schools and what path we'll take from there. So, and I have 3 boys in the school, 1 that's graduated and 2 that are still currently in Blair Oaks School District.
Yep. Yes, okay. We'll head into the questions now.
All right, so our first question is going to be about teacher support. So the latest survey from the Missouri State Teachers Association shows that around 70% of teachers in the state of Missouri last year considered leaving the profession at one point or another. And in the same survey, lack of admin support was cited as the biggest predictor alongside other things such as student behavior, stress, and of course, lack of pay, lack of compensation. So, if reelected to Blair Oaks School Board, what would you do to ensure teachers and staff members feel supported in the district? We can start with Mark and then go to Sarah.
I think we are extremely fortunate in Blair Oaks that what we're talking about is teacher retention. And if your teachers aren't, if they don't feel welcome, they don't feel supported, they will leave, just like you said. I think our climate and our culture at Blair Oaks is so positive that, quite frankly, we're not having a teacher retention problem. The only thing is, a lot of times people or teachers are going to go to Jeff City School District to make more money, but it isn't because they don't like Blair Oaks. So that's really the bottom line for me anyway.
Sarah, if you want to comment as well.
I agree with Mark, and since we don't necessarily have a problem with retaining our teachers, but I do worry that funding cuts and things like that will drive out our good teachers, and ultimately they have to be able to support themselves and make a living. I think our community does a really, really good job of rallying around our teachers. I think that's part of Blair Oaks' success. And I think as a board, our responsibility is create policies that protect our teachers and so they don't have to, so they know that they're, we will protect them and we will stand up for them when these issues arise.
Absolutely, yeah. Our second question that we had is related to technology in the classroom. Digital devices in classrooms have been a hot topic for schools, especially since the COVID-19 pandemic, when a lot of students were doing classes remotely. Parents and educators are often weighing the positives and negatives of giving kids access to devices, such as laptops, Chromebooks, those sorts of things. For you two personally, how do you feel digital devices should be utilized in Blair Oaks schools? And would you advocate for more or less technology in the classroom, sort of day to day for students? We can start with Sarah this time.
I think that all of our students need to learn how to use digital devices properly. I think that's the age we live in. But my biggest fear with introducing more technology to the classrooms, I think our kids already know probably more than our teachers on these devices. And so I'm more for a traditional classroom setting because I fear our kids are going to learn, or they're going to lose a desire to learn. And I fear they're going to lose their problem-solving skills and critical thinking skills. And so I'm definitely more for a traditional classroom.
Mark, you can give an answer as well.
Digital technology in classrooms is really neither beneficial or harmful. It's a tool for the teacher. And at the end of the day, our job as a board members is not to tell a teacher which tool to use, but our job is to enable the educators through thoughtful policies that will support the teachers and the students' learning. And we need to maximize technology while minimizing the distractions of social media, gaming, and personal messages. Ignore the text I just sent you, Peggy. Just kidding.
Thank you so much for that. I'll pass it back to Mia for our next question here.
Thank you. So this question is regarding property tax and school funding. State education officials have indicated that there could be roughly $100 to $150 million shortfall this fiscal year due to underperforming revenues from sources like lottery, gambling, and cigarette taxes. Combined with the ongoing debates over property tax reform, do you believe public schools are facing a new financial reality? And as a school board member, how would you respond if funding persistently continues to fall short? What trade-offs would you be prepared to make?
I assume you want me to go?
Yes.
So you're talking about the impact of property tax is what you're getting at, right? So when I look at the changes in property tax in Missouri, and how it directly ties into Blair Oaks specifically, a large portion of our school funding comes from local property taxes. So any changes to the levy limits or revenue growth has a direct impact on what a district can sustain and impact over time. While I understand and respect the goal of providing tax relief to residents, because I don't like paying taxes either, my concern is to make sure that those changes don't unintentionally create long-term funding instability for our district. For Blair Oaks specifically, the biggest risk isn't necessarily an immediate loss of funding, but a reduced ability to grow revenue as costs increase over time. That can affect teacher salaries, class sizes, maintaining quality programs that our community has grown to expect and deserve. As a board member, my role is to focus on stability and transparency as best I can. That means planning conservatively, advocating for policies that balance taxpayer relief, and sustainable school funding. Ultimately, my priority will be protecting the quality of education for our students while being a responsible steward of tax dollars.
Okay, thank you. Sarah?
Again, I'll just kind of reiterate what Mark said. A big part of our funding is our state funding and our property tax. And we are a bedroom community, and we do not have the corporate tax that a lot of larger schools have. So we rely solely on those two revenue sources. And so I think with those two things and the possible cuts, I think it's going to be really difficult for us to retain good teachers. I mean, ultimately, they need to make money for their families, and so while I'm not advocating for higher property taxes, I do think that our state government needs to take a step back and look what they'll do to our small rural school districts if they decide to cut funding or. It does seem to me like education is one of the areas that they're very quick to cut our funding, and it really is, hurting our kids. And I think our kids deserve more than that.
Great, thank you. Okay.
So our next question is going to touch on open enrollment, which is, once again being considered by Missouri lawmakers, by Missouri legislature. If open enrollment were to be passed into law, would you support using Blair Oaks' local property tax dollars to help fund the education of students transferring in from other districts? We can start with you, Sarah.
I am not an advocate for open enrollment or open schools. I think that part of our success, again, is our community. And I think there's some responsibility that comes with being a part of our community. And so I think if you're able to just send your child to our district without being a part of our community, I think that's unfair. I do. I think that, I think we will actually have more problems with the schools that they leave. Because if they leave and they're able to leave those schools, who's going to run for school board? Who's going to fix the problems at those schools? And I think those schools will just continue to get worse.
Thank you. Mark?
Open enrollment's a good idea for urban schools. I think it makes a lot of sense. I think the two current Senate bills do not allow districts to buy in. I prefer the House bills that support the buy-in and a cap. I would still not advocate that Blair Oaks participate because that opens our district up to some considerable risks. And those risks are for the simple fact if you just take Blair Oaks, you're allowed to take 10 students. That's the percent or whatever it is. Let's use 10 students. Who's going to decide who's the 11th student? And who's going to decide what grades are those kids going in? Who's going to decide what special needs kids are going to be over a regular student? Who does all that? And then to me, for us, it makes local control extremely important, and the districts that find it beneficial should by all means participate. But I am not an advocate. I'm not an advocate for Blair Oaks to participate.
Got you. Then going into our next question is touching on facility additions that have happened recently at Blair Oaks. The district recently completed several facility additions, including a new weight room, classrooms, and an ag building at the high school. So I guess just to ask you two, generally, how do you feel these additions will impact the school district? And do you believe that they were overall a positive use of district resources?
That was a bond that was passed. It was Prop 2 for Phase 2 is how we sold that. And it was a no tax increase levy within our district. Our voters, as our communities, as usual, support Blair Oaks happily. And we provide a really, I say we, the district provides a very good product in terms of graduations, quality students, great families. It's a wonderful deal. But the best thing about Phase 2 is we don't have kids going from the old high school to the new high school every hour and losing the amount of classroom time, the disruption of classrooms every time kids would come in late or whatever. So how could you ever manage, accountability for being on time? You can't, right? So we've got everybody in the same building, so I'm hip on that, and I'm very supportive of, and I appreciate Jeff City completing Phase 2 for us.
I love it, and I think it's been a great thing for Blair Oaks, and I think our kids deserve that classroom space to be in their own building, and also, I know Mark would agree with me, from a safety aspect, we've got a lot of kids crossing a road and having younger kids too, and I think eliminating that was a really good thing for Blair Oaks. We needed the extra space just to even be able to host sporting events and things like that, and so it's overall, I think it's a positive thing.
Thank you.
Okay. For our last question, it will be about new principals. So both the high school and intermediate school will have new principals for the upcoming school year. How will you, as school board member, help bring stability as they step into these new leadership roles? Sarah.
Oh, okay. That's a good question. I think that I think the board does a really good job as a whole of supporting our administration. But, I think for me, I like that question because I think I could take a step back and really offer to get any feedback from them on how I can help support them or better support them. And then, just making sure they know how valued we really do. We value them and how much we respect the job they do. It's a lot, and we ask a lot of them. And sometimes I don't know why they stay. So I really do appreciate all of our staff and the quality education they're providing for our school.
Thank you.
I didn't say this earlier about the teacher retention question, but Sarah just touched on it a minute ago or a second ago, and about teaching has got to be the most honorable profession, and you're not doing it to get rich. You're doing it because you love kids. So I wanted to iterate that for the teachers, and now we're talking about a new principal, a new high school principal and intermediate school principal, and we hired Coach Vick back as a athletic director and vice principal. For a board member, our job is to evaluate the superintendent and the product that the district puts out, and the product is students, graduates. So for a board member, I'm really not involved or, quite frankly, interested specifically in those specific hires. What I am interested in and what we can do the best for those new hires is provide clarity, make sure our expectations are manageable and attainable, that we provide support for the superintendent and the district on anything that they need to meet our curriculum requirements, and structure, again, make sure the superintendent leads. He leads from the front, and those other principals and all of them, they'll all funnel up and answer to them. In my military background, chain of command is everything, and that's what happens here. And finally, stability. What we do as board members is provide a clear vision and governance for the district. So if we're done well, we create an environment where our new leaders can succeed, and we won't be overstepping into management, from my perspective.
Thank you both.
Thank you, Mia and Jack, for leading our Q&A. We're going to wrap up this segment with our Blair Oaks candidates. I do want to give you both a minute to provide some closing remarks. You're both incumbents, whether you want to talk about your accomplishments or what you want to achieve in a next term, and we'll begin with Sarah.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having us, and I do appreciate the time to just kind of discuss, what I believe and why I'm running. And I think for me, it really ultimately does come down to our kids. I care about our youth. I'm so passionate about it, and I want our education system just to do the best for them and provide them a quality education, and just to train them to be good stewards of their communities and good citizens. And I hope that our policies that we set will, provide that avenue for them. And I am just so proud of Blair Oaks, and I love Blair Oaks so much. I love our community. I love our parents. And I'm just thankful for our district, and I just want to keep us going in a really good direction. I think we are, and I'm really running just to keep us on track.
I appreciate the opportunity to do this. I love to talk. I also love to work. I think Sarah would probably agree. I've said this before in other forums. I'm probably one of the hardest working board members because I'm retired. I got nothing else to do. But I spend a lot of time in every single thing that administrators write, every single thing the superintendent writes, every contract, every policy. I read everything, and that has enabled me to provide whatever insight is needed at the board. I think what I would like to do next is make sure we do some intentional planning for our facilities, and I would like to address the enrollment concerns and see if we can't get some younger families in the Blair Oaks School District. And if anybody ever wants to get a hold of me, my name and phone number and email and everything is out on Facebook. And in fact, if you're a voter, you're going to get a postcard with all that on there pretty soon. So please reach out to me. Let me know what I can do for you.
Thank you both so much for being here and for accepting our invitation to be here tonight. We are going to take a break here in a few minutes, but I have to give a shout out to Blair Oaks because you all are always on brand. And I am not a Blair Oaks graduate, so this is not a bias. I love the green. It's fantastic. You spoke so highly of the staff and the teachers and the administration at Blair Oaks, and you gave them a lot of credit for their work, but I also want to give you all credit. It's not easy to run for public office. It's a huge time commitment. It's hard on your families, so thank you for your willingness to be here and engage. And we are going to take a short break. Remember, for those of you who are watching online, you can still submit questions. We are monitoring all our social platforms. And in a few minutes, we're going to welcome up our Jefferson City School District candidates. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, welcome back, everybody. We have our Jefferson City School Board candidates with us, continuing on with a candidate forum hosted by the Jefferson City News Tribune. I just want to give a reminder to our audience that might be online, you can still submit questions to us, and we will try to fit it in. I also want to just give a reminder of the format because we have a few more candidates up here for this second segment. We will allow each candidate, and we will start with Trent. We'll allow each candidate 1 minute to introduce themselves here at the beginning, and then we will, when we go to the Q&A segment, we'll allow around 90 seconds as a response, and we will try to alternate and do that as best as we can. But thank you all for being here. We have a few more in the audience. Thank you for spending your evening with us. It's very nice out tonight, so we appreciate that because the weather's about to take another dive, as it does in spring in mid-Missouri. So we are on our 5th season already in the last week. So thank you for being here. Thanks for giving us some of your time. Nothing more important than talking about our local schools. And I just want to give a reminder that I was told that early voting is open, so you can actually vote now. And you can also show up on April 7th to cast your vote. And I am going to go ahead and turn it over. Oh, I'm going to actually, hold on. We're going to introduce our Jefferson City News Tribune editors. Again, I'm Erin Shrimp. I host some of our political shows here at the News Tribune. And I have our community engagement editor, Mia Sansone, with us, who's going to be asking some questions. And Jack Wardinsky, I got his name right this time. Jack Wardinsky, our education reporter, will also be asking a few questions. But before we get to the Q&A, I want to introduce our candidates. So Trent, we will start with you. Give us a minute to introduce yourselves and tell us why you're running for school board.
Yeah, my name is Trent Vallandigham. I'm a 2002 Jeff City Jaybird graduate, born and raised here, lifetime resident. I was born to 2 educators, so they really impacted me growing up, watching them go through daily life as teachers and coaches and mentors. That didn't help enough, so I married an educator. So so now I'm just surrounded by them, and I have 2 children in public schools. I currently do medical sales. Why am I running for a school board? I think that as we all grow up and mature, our worldview changes a little bit, and we start to reflect on how we got to where we are. And the public education I got in Jefferson City is a big testament to that. It had a lot to do with where I am today and who I am. And you know, as my children have gone through school, it's really been eye-opening and made me reflect and want to give back. So that's why I'm running for school board.
Good evening. I'd like to thank the News Tribune for doing this tonight, and thank you all for coming out. My name is Gretchen Duckworth, and for more than 30 years, I have worked in education, building meaningful programs and curriculum for youth and adults. I also serve as an HR director for state government, and I definitely understand the importance of good leadership. And I bring great leadership experience with me. I'm a court-appointed special advocate where I advocate for the permanency of 4 kiddos in care. I've also been a foster mom, so I understand both sides of things, and it gives me a very unique perspective. I'm also the founder of Rise Up Foundation, where we advocate for safe, healthy, respectful relationships to prevent sexual and domestic violence. And most importantly, I'm a mom. Jefferson City is home. I have raised my kids here. I have 3 adult kids and a 7th grader at TJ. I also have 2 grandkids, so the school district means a lot to me. The reason why I'm running is I would like to serve. I've always been a servant leader. I serve in many local organizations here in town to make our community safer and to make our community a better place to live. I want to serve on our board to be an advocate for our teachers, for our families, our students, and our community. It would be a great honor to serve, and I am a very hard worker with great work ethic and would like an opportunity to be a voice for the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Michelle?
Hi, I'm Michelle Rodemeyer. I don't know where that. I'm a CPA by trade, 30 years plus. More importantly, I'm a mom to two boys. We have a 2025 graduate from JC, and we have an 8th grader at Lewis and Clark who will be at the high school next year. As I said, I'm a CPA, worked in state government as a fiscal and budget manager, managed the budget of the State Public Health Lab during COVID, which was very trying. Going from a $12 million budget to $26 million budget almost overnight with federal funding. I'm a community volunteer. I volunteer with the Samaritan Center, and I've done some United Way funding panels in the past, as well as some other things, including PTO, since our oldest was in kindergarten, all the way up to president of the PTO at North, and then through the citywide PTO, I was also president there. I'm running just to continue that service to the district. We've been blessed with so many wonderful staff for our boys, and it's made a big difference in their lives. And so I just want to continue and give back to the district that's given us so much.
Thank you. Sierra?
I just want to say thank you for coming out tonight. My name is Sierra Griffin. I am a public education leader for the state of Missouri here. I oversee program management for school counselors and professional development. I've been here for 16 years. I came here originally for school. This is where I graduated from. I feel like I'm at home. This is all where it started. My education started here 16 years ago. And I've spent 14 years in public education from every sector, from early childhood, mental health, special education, as well as elementary and school counseling. I am running because I have a student in the district, and I care fairly well about students' like well-being and teachers too as well. And I saw the need to step up, and that's why I'm running. I'm here to serve, and in any way that I can. I've spent years advocating for students, educators, and families, and I want to continue to do that work with Jefferson City School District.
Thank you. I'm going to turn it over to Jack and for the first question. We will start with Sierra, and just a reminder, we'll try to keep our responses to around a minute and a half. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so our first question is going to touch on teacher support. The latest survey from the Missouri State Teachers Association shows that around 70% of teachers in the state considered leaving the profession last year in 2025. The survey, teachers who took the survey cited student behavior, stress, lack of pay, and lack of administrator support as the primary reasons for wanting to leave the profession. So if elected, what will you do to ensure teachers and staff members in Jefferson City feel supported in the district?
I think with working with just educators all over the state of Missouri, I think we feel it everywhere. I think we feel it with administrators, teachers, school counselors. I think it's hidden everywhere. I think the shortage is really in teachers and school counselors and administrators right now, which is the heart and soul of schools. So if elected, I think that I would want teachers to feel supported, valued, and heard. I think that a lot of times we need to be a listening ear. We need to listen to those that are doing the work in the field. I think that makes a true impact, because that's where change really happens, as well as like making sure that they have professional development to make sure that they can support the students that they serve with diverse needs. And I also think that having support from administrators is very valuable too, and it keeps teachers in the field for longevity. So if elected, I will also want to focus on just make sure that teachers have rapport with their administrators and making sure that those relationships reflect in the student body and the school community.
Michelle?
Teacher recruitment and retention is one of my priorities. I think it's with like Sierra said, with the results that you said of the survey and the trend that some of them are leaving. I know that in the district budget, there's going to be some pay raises this year or in the coming year, which is great. I think it's very important to attract the teachers. I think the district has some other ways to attract the teachers as well. But along the pay raises are great, but if they're still having to fund the supplies that they need, that hasn't gotten them much. So I think we need to look at that. What are they purchasing out of pocket? I think another thing we need to look at that would support the teachers is the substitute teacher shortage. I've heard from some teachers that they have to give up their planning time to sub in another classroom because there aren't any substitutes available. So then they have to do their planning on their own time. So I think that's something that needs to be a focus. And I know in schools where there's a strong PTO, the teachers feel supported. So encouraging the PTO growth there in each school, I think, is very important too.
Thank you. Gretchen?
I think teachers stay where they feel valued and supported. So as a board member, I would help by prioritizing classroom resources, making sure there's strong leadership in each building, and provide a positive culture. I've done that for over 35 years in my personal growth as a leader. I've built teams and improved morale and retention for many, many companies, some that were Fortune 500 companies. And I'd like to bring that experience that I have to the district to help. I also believe that it's important, as Sierra said, to listen. For the last month and a half, I've been out to several of our schools during lunch to listen to what our teachers have to say and to hear their concerns. And I'd like to continue doing that if elected to be on the board so that I can be a listening ear to what's going on and what their concerns are.
Thank you.
Yeah, teachers are the most important resource we have as a district. Without them, really nothing else matters. So making sure teachers are satisfied and they feel valued is critically important. Compensation matters, but teachers didn't get into the profession for the paycheck. They got into the profession because they wanted to change lives. They wanted to mentor children, make sure they're ready when they're adults for what lies ahead. I think when I speak to teachers, it's more about having a seat at the table when decisions are made about curriculum or about instruction. They want to feel like their voices are heard when they have concerns about classroom management, about organization of the schools. So you cited the survey earlier, and I think that all that data none of that data matters unless we ask the hard questions and ask for honest feedback to try to solve some of these problems that they're dealing with. So I think just trying to be as accommodating as possible and making them feel valued, because that's what they deserve.
Thank you for your answers. Our next question will be about technology in classrooms. Technology in classrooms has been a hot topic since the COVID-19 pandemic, as parents and educators have weighed the positives and negatives of getting students access to devices. In each of your own perspectives, has that shift improved student outcomes? And what changes, if any, would you support in how technology is used in Jefferson City schools? We can start with Michelle this time and work down the line.
I think, as a parent anyway, sometimes the technology makes it a little difficult for us to also help when there's homework and things. But all kids learn differently, so it's kind of a hard question to answer. Some kids do great with it, and some don't. And so and there's also, I think, some studies that I haven't dug into real deep, but that show that more technology in the classrooms may not be a good thing. So haven't looked at that data yet. But I think, like I said, all kids learn differently. So as long as the kids are learning whatever tools they need are good.
Gretchen?
I think technology is a powerful tool when it supports instruction and not when it replaces it. I believe in balanced, age-appropriate use of that's guided by our teachers. Our teachers are there to teach and have a focus on improving outcomes and preparing students for today's workforce while still having those meaningful classroom conversations and connection to help our students with critical thinking skills. As a board member, I support balanced use of the technology. I also like going back to pen and paper, or pencil and paper sometimes as well. I think that helps kids to figure out why we're doing it, not just the final answer. And I think that if we do use technology, it should support learning and not replace that strong teacher component and the human connection that they get from it. So I just would want to make sure that technology is there to improve student success and not distract from it.
Yeah, in general, I think no technology will ever replace high-quality instruction. And technology in education, it should be to enhance education, not to replace it. So I think, it's hard to give you a good answer on that because it all depends on how the technology is being utilized. As long as it's to enhance education, I'm for it. I do think that our children need to have they need to be able to sign their signature. They need to be able to do things when the technology doesn't work. But I think we're pretty naive if we think that with the world we're living in, where technology is increasing and we're relying more and more on it, if we think that just cutting it down to nothing is going to prepare the children for the real world, I'm not sure if that's a good answer either. So I think it's got to be a balanced approach.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sierra?
I guess I'm going to come from it from a parent perspective a little bit. Before they made the change with no technology in classroom instruction, I practice at home with my son, no technology throughout the week. And I think it is up to the parents, to monitor, the access that they have to technology. So I try my hardest as a parent to make sure that the days that he has school, he's not on technology because he's been on technology during the day in instructional time. And so knowing how the child mind, operates, sometimes it can be overwhelming for them being on technology for hours and hours. So I try to place breaks. Not saying that every parent needs to do that. This is just something that I've practiced. But I'm a believer in technology, but I think it needs to be monitored, how much you're using it. As a kid, in early instruction, we've seen the outcome in learning, and the impact that it is happening right now with the APR and everything is going up. And when you take away the phones in class instruction, it eliminates that distraction. But I also think it's useful because teachers use it as a primary source for learning. And so I don't think that you should take away technology fully, but I think you should monitor, just the assets, maybe making sure that it's safety protocols and make sure that it's training, which our district do a pretty good job in educating our educators on that. And so I'm not against it, but I just think that it should be balanced.
Thank you so much for answers. I will pass along to Mia for our next question here.
Our next question will be regarding property tax and school funding. This is the same question we also asked our Blair Oaks candidates. State education officials have indicated there could be roughly $100 to $150 million shortfall this fiscal year due to underperforming revenues from sources like lottery, gambling, and cigarette taxes. Combined with ongoing debates over property tax reform, do you believe public schools are facing a new financial reality? And as a school board member, how would you respond if funding persistently continues to fall short? What trade-offs would you be prepared to make? We'll start with you, Gretchen.
I think that school funding is uncertain right now, especially with the possible tax changes. And we in Jefferson City rely heavily on property taxes, so stability matters. I would have to say that I would work with legislators and ask questions and advocate for decisions that protect Jefferson City students and classrooms first. As it is an uncertain time, I do support economic growth and strong partnerships with legislators, but based on what we know today, I can't really say that I can see how this would benefit our district in Jefferson City right now. As a board member, I would have to stay engaged, ask questions, and advocate for policies that protect Jefferson City schools. I do know from what I've looked into with the income tax issue, it would be an estimated loss in our school district of $8.4 million each year, with 4.9% of all spending, which is a cut of $1,121 per student, and is the equivalent of 153 teachers or 267 support staff. So that's bus drivers, cafeteria workers, paraprofessionals, office assistants, and that's a huge, huge hit to our budget. So we would definitely have to look at that, but I definitely advocate for keeping a relationship with our legislators to let them know that we want decisions made that are going to be beneficial to Jefferson City schools and not allow legislators from Kansas City and St. Louis to determine what we do here in Jefferson City for our students.
Thank you. Trent?
Yeah, I think we're in a unique position that's good, not tax-wise here, but I think that being in the state capital, I think that we absolutely have to be on the same page and approach lawmakers. And it's easy to look at numbers, but when you start assigning names of people who might lose their jobs, I think it changes people's perspective a little bit on saying we're going to cut funding, or well, it's only this much. Those are children affected. Those are real people affected. So I think the best thing we can do is be the biggest cheerleaders we can for public education. I think that we can be active at the Capitol and really make sure that people understand how that's going to change things for teachers and students. Yeah.
Thank you. Sierra?
I think school funding decisions have long-term impacts on students, staff, and the community. School boards should definitely make sure that they carefully monitor legislative changes and work with legislators to advocate for funding resources and structures that provide stability and allow districts to plan responsibly. I do think that, as Gretchen and Trent said, I think that it's helpful to look at the budget and make sure that, cuts are not affecting our people here, and we want to keep our staff here, and we want them to be able to educate and be here of support of students and be able to make money for their families. So when you put that into perspective, I think strong school support and strong communities and responsible funding ensures we can continue providing quality education, supporting educators, and meeting student needs.
Thank you. Michelle?
Yeah, I read the same statistics that Gretchen mentioned. One thing I know that the state tax, the state money that the district gets is about 23%. If we talk about property taxes and those being, that reform there, that's 46%. So you've pretty much cut schools if you do that. I think we have to be supporters and cheerleaders, like the rest said, of public schools. It's very important to support the teachers, have the teachers, to be able to get the kids to where they want to be after school, after their high school career. And with budget cuts, you have to have fiscal responsibility. So you have to spend wisely and responsibly and do the best you can with the funding that you have.
Great, thank you all. Now, Jack, with another question.
Thank you. So our next question will touch on open enrollment, which Missouri lawmakers are once again considering open enrollment in legislature currently. So if open enrollment were to pass in Missouri, would you support using this district's local property tax dollars to help fund the education of students that are transferring in from outside of the district? So we can start with Trent with this one.
No, I mean, I think that education is a community approach. I think that, well, first of all, I think that as someone with friends that have children in private school in this area, I think it's their right to choose to pay tuition and send their kids to a different school. But I wholeheartedly believe that public funding is for public schools. Public funding is not for private schools. That's what private funding is for. So I'm not a supporter of vouchers. I'm open enrollment. It's a pie in the sky thing that sounds realistic, and I don't think that it has worked or will work in a rural area. Let's say you lose 20 students from a school. You know, are you just going to tell a teacher they have to transfer to another school to educate those students? It's not realistic. You know, when you really think about it, it doesn't make a lot of sense, and it's not efficient, and it's not going to be good for anybody. So no, I don't support open enrollment. I'm not a proponent of vouchers. I think that public funds are for public schools.
Thank you. Sierra, down to you.
I think when we think about open enrollment, I think it could create both opportunities and challenges for the district. I think families may benefit from being able to choose what school their children go to, but districts may suffer because we're already struggling in some transportation areas, and then also class sizes and staffing and funding. And that would impact heavily if we do open enrollment. Although I'm not against you being able to choose what school your child attend, I think that decisions like this should be carefully thought about before making those decisions, and then also making sure that we look at what the data might look like for other if it's been done before, and also whether or not that would work for this school district.
Thank you. Michelle?
I haven't read that legislation yet. I know it's very similar, I think, to what's gone through before. And I appreciate a parent's right to choose, like Trent said, to go to a private school. It makes it really difficult to budget when you don't know how many students you have, how much funding you have. So, and I think there's a lot of details not known yet. So like, how often can you change? Can you change every year? And that's really hard. And I agree with the community approach. The families should be a part of the community that they go to school in and should live there.
Thank you.
I'm not really in favor of open enrollment. I believe parents can choose where they want their kids to go. If they can afford for a private school, that's fine. My priority is making sure that Jefferson City School District is a district that families choose by supporting strong academics, safe schools, and excellent teachers. So if we continue to work hard at what we're doing, we will be the district of choice in the community for our students. And so that's what my priority would be. I do believe we need to stay engaged with legislators and make sure that any policy changes protect the stability of our school district students and families.
Thank you. We will pass it over to Mia here for our next question.
So this question is about the East Fine Arts Academy. The school board recently approved for East Elementary to become the first fine arts school in the district with a lottery system to determine which new students can attend. Do you think a lottery is the best way to handle the influx of students applying to East Fine Arts Academy? We'll start with Sierra.
I'm actually, I'm excited to hear that, we're thinking about innovative ways to keep our kids engaged. I noticed that the district made Thorpe a STEM academy, and I think that the outcome has been great. Opportunities like this, it gives students the opportunity to be creative and innovative. I think creative arts help our students build confidence, express themselves, and stay engaged while learning. Although I do think that if this decision is made, I think that the curriculum should be shared out with other schools, and they be able to have the opportunity to teach their students as well. I think providing different pathways allows students to discover their strengths and develop their talents. And as a board member, I would continue to support thoughtful and innovative programs that give students opportunity to grow.
Thank you. Michelle?
As I understand it, similar to Thorpe Gordon, that the kids in that boundary will be enrolled at East, and then the lottery, as you said, for the others. As far as the lottery being the best, I'm not sure. I'm not sure that, you can have applications, but then who decides? I think the lottery probably is the best to give every kid the opportunity that wants to attend, and even though they're out of the East boundary. I think I heard at one of the prior board meetings that they will share curriculum and things that they learned with the other schools. But as far as any other way to enroll them there, I think probably the lottery is the most fair.
Thank you. Gretchen?
I think innovative programs like fine arts academies can be exciting opportunities, but major changes should include community engagement. The board's role is to make sure that access feels fair and families have a voice before decisions move forward. Success of specialized programs like Thorpe Gordon have been amazing. I have spent time with Thorpe Gordon students and families, and the culture shift there is phenomenal from what it used to be. They take such pride in their school, and it is a beautiful thing to see. So I'm excited because my kids started their educational journey at East for East to get that. But in the same vein, I'm here for families across the district, and I believe that families deserve opportunities, and the board should help ensure access feels fair and transparent. Listening sessions and community input are essential before major programs and major program shifts should move forward. We need to have those discussions because in talking to parents and talking to educators, there has been discussion about why there isn't a special school over on the west end of town. So I just think more discussion should be had before we make decisions.
Thank you. Trent?
You want the mic?
Yeah. Yeah, I think Thorpe Gordon has been just a great story. The APR data out of that school has just skyrocketed since they moved to that STEM Academy approach. And I think that we should do everything we can to try to reproduce that wherever we can. I think there's also a lot of grants available for STEM academies. I think it's a little harder to get grants for fine arts, but I think that fine art, I was in chorale at Jeff City High School, so big supporter of fine arts. And, I think that I think that we should absolutely replicate it. As far as the lottery, I hope there aren't that many spots and that the students of East School want to be a part of that committee and it doesn't displace many students. But lottery, I think that's probably the most fair way to go that's not subjective. But I don't think you're ever going to have a perfect answer on how to admit the perfect people in. So, but yeah, I'm a proponent of the academies.
Thank you all. I'm going to pass it to Jack for a related question.
All right, thank you. So our next question, some of you touched on this in your answers about East Fine Arts Academy, is about equity concerns between the east and west sides of town here in Jeff City. During that board meeting where they approved the transition to East Fine Arts Academy, some board members shared concern that East Elementary and Thorpe Gordon STEM Academy are both located close together on the east side of town. Do you feel these decisions could lead to a lack of support for students on the western side of Jefferson City? We can start with Michelle this time.
I think, like I said, I think they also discussed that the curriculum would be shared. So I think that's a start. I hope this isn't the last specialized academy that we have. I think it's a great trend for again, like Trent said, to get the kids engaged again and loving going to school. I loved watching I love watching Thorpe Gordon's Facebook page. They do some really cool stuff. So I'm anxious and to see what East can do with the fine arts. So I hope it's not the last one. And I also think that this might be a tool in our toolbox to, as far as some building overcrowding, maybe. If there's room in schools that they don't have, that they aren't to capacity, that they could use that maybe to solve some of the overcrowding elsewhere. So just a thought there. I don't know if that ever came up, but it just occurred to me that might be one of those problems solved.
All right, thank you, Michelle. Gretchen, you can take it next here.
I just really firmly believe in making sure that we make equitable decisions across the board. When there was one high school, everyone was so concerned about a second high school, and it was just going to be the end all of Jeff City to have two high schools. And I know Sierra was there the night that Jeff City played Cap City, and the energy was amazing. So to see that much excitement between the two schools and to see both schools performing at such a high level, that's where we want to be. My concern would be if we're funneling students through Thorpe and through East with extra opportunities, even though we are sharing curriculum, is that going to make it an unbalanced opportunity with Jeff City High School versus Cap City? Are the kids on the west end of town going to get the same education opportunities that kids that maybe didn't get if they weren't selected for the lottery? So that's a concern to me. I definitely think that it's on our radar to continue to look into and make sure when we make these decisions again that they are, we have conversations in the community. We include our educators in the decisions so that they're not left hanging, not knowing what's going on until the community finds out, and that we make sure that we don't have the appearance of not treating each side of town equitable so that all of our students have the same opportunities.
Thank you, Gretchen. We'll go to Trent next.
Yeah, I agree with the other responses, but I think it's a good thing that we are innovating at certain schools. None of us were a part of those discussions when it came to East School. The board has been the board has done a good job, and I trust that they talk through the pros and cons of each location. And I think that the important thing is that as a board member, and I know that these ladies would agree with me, you can't have favorites. Every student in the district is under your watch, and I think we have to. Definitely Michelle. I think Holt Summit is probably a little overdue for a little attention too, because that's a big population up there. So I think the point of it is, yes, we have to keep our eyes on it. We have to make sure that these decisions are being discussed, argued about, fought about, and then settled on as a group. But I think we have a good group here that would take that into consideration.
Thank you. And we'll end with Sierra down there.
I'm excited to see that our school district are setting themselves apart from other districts, or maybe doing some similar things of other districts, bigger districts, taking initiative to create innovative programs like the STEM program, Academy program, and Fine Arts program. I think that is the first step forward to creating opportunity for children to be creative and also innovative thinkers as we prepare them for the real world. But I also think that maybe some discussion, having some discussion with the community about some of those decisions might help us make a better decision. But I also think there's opportunity there too for growth. I think this is not the first and last one. I think we're going to keep growing.
Thank you so much. I will pass it back to Erin here.
I think that concludes our Q&A portion for tonight. I want to give the candidates one more opportunity to give some closing remarks here before we wrap up. So I want to start with Michelle. If you want to go ahead and start, since Sierra just ended, we'll go ahead and wrap up.
Sure. I guess I didn't mention in my intro that I was from Holt Summit, but Holt Summit it's been a while since anyone from Holt Summit's been on the board, and there are some challenges there that Holt Summit brings, although we are the reason most of the snow days happen. So you're welcome to the kids.
Thank you.
I got to get that in every time I can. But I love our schools. I love the kids. We've been so blessed. And I just want to continue that service to the district that's given us so much. And I think that the school district, we all believe this, I think that it's on a really good trajectory. Things are, attendance is trending up, the graduation rate is trending up, and I'd just like to be part of that to keep that train going on the right track.
Thank you. Oh, Gretchen, sorry.
As a school board member, I will prioritize making sure resources are directed where they matter most, and that's into our classrooms, supporting teachers and directly impacting students, because I know that the greatest single factor for student success is a strong, well-supported teacher. I also believe in transparency and communication. Over the past few months, I've listened to concerns from staff and community members about equitable spending and stronger connections between leadership, buildings, and families, and I want to help with that. I want to help improve that because trust matters. As both a parent and taxpayer, that's at the heart of why I'm running for school board. And at the end of the day, the mission is clear. Educate our kids and prepare them for adulthood in partnership with their families, and make sure that everything we do and every dollar we spend points back to that. I believe my experience, my commitment to service, my focus on transparency and accountability make me a strong candidate to serve. I was reminded last night at a Rotary meeting, and it resonated with me very well, and it's kind of been who I am, but it just kind of punched me in the gut when I read it, and it's service above self. And that's what I'm here to do, to be a voice for teachers, students, and families across the district. On April 7th, I would truly appreciate your vote and the honor of serving on our school board. Thank you.
Thank you. Trent?
Yeah, again, thanks for inviting us to this. It's great to see people that care and are watching, and that this district means a lot to all of us. And just the opportunity to serve the community is something that I don't take for granted. I've got 2 ears and 1 mouth. I'm good at listening. I'm pretty. I told Gretchen earlier, I'm pretty cerebral, so I like to take a lot of info in, work through it, and help come to a decision and solve problems. And that's what I want to offer the district and the community, because without strong schools, you don't have a strong community. So I think we all value that, and I'd appreciate your vote.
Thank you. Sierra?
Yeah.
As a parent and public education leader, I know that board decisions don't just stay in the boardroom. They ripple in classrooms and into schools and into homes every day. They shape how teachers teach, how students experience school, and how families feel supported. Board decisions affect class sizes, budgets, curriculum, instructional materials, school calendars, and so on. Families feel this in routines, communication, support for their child, and also their schedules and overall school climate. Teachers feel it in expectations and resources, and students feel it every day. If elected, I would prioritize preparing students for life after graduation, student mental health and behavior, as well as teacher workload and retention and sustainability, as well as using data to make physically responsible decisions. I believe in compassionate leadership and purposeful service. I plan to listen carefully, build on what's working, protect what's effective, and implement what's missing so that every student feels supported and every educator is respected and every family feels seen.
Thank you. Thank you all so much for being here. That kind of wraps up our candidate forum for tonight. I want to thank our editors, Mia and Jack, for their time, and the rest of the News Tribune staff that helped pull off tonight. We are looking forward to being more in the community and doing more events like this, and we can't do it if we don't have folks show up and accept our invitation, and also folks to show up in person and online. So thank you again so much. It was a beautiful evening in Jeff City, so we appreciate those of you who chose to be here with us. And I do want to say just thank you again to our candidates and echo what I said to the Blair Oaks candidates. We get to talk to a lot of candidates throughout the year at the News Tribune, and it is a sacrifice. It's a time commitment on behalf of you and your families. So thank you again for stepping up for your community, and we really appreciate it. That wraps up tonight. And again, please get out and vote. You can vote early now. You can vote on Election Day on April 7th. We will have live coverage from the studio on April 7th, and hopefully we'll get to talk maybe to a couple of candidates that night as returns are coming in. So continue to follow the News Tribune for coverage through Election Day, and we hope to see you all again soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.